This is Bob Capetta from the College of the Florida Keys, and this lesson is on parallel and perpendicular lines. So I've got two lines here, y equals 1/3 x plus 5 and y equals 1/3 x minus 2. 1/3 x plus 5 is the red line, 1/3 x minus 2 is the blue line, and you can see they are parallel. You can also see they have the same slope. Y equals mx plus b, slope of red is 1/3, slope of blue is 1/3. Similarly, y is negative 2x plus 4, and that's supposed to be y is negative 2x minus 6. Slope is negative 2, rise negative 2, run 1, rise negative 2, run 1, y-intercept of 4. On the blue, y-intercept is negative 6, rise negative 2, run 1. Again, they are parallel, and they have the same slope. And here's the third example. Y equals 5 and y equals negative 4. They are parallel, and they both have slope of 0, which gives us our rule. If two lines have the same slope, they are parallel. So here's the sort of question we're going to answer. Construct the equation of a line that contains the point negative 2, 4 and is parallel to the line 3x plus 2y equals 7. If our line is parallel to this line, they must have the same slope. So I need to determine the slope of this given line. So let's do that by solving for y, adding negative 3x to both sides. 2y is negative 3x plus 7, then dividing by 2, that'll be negative 3 halves plus 7 halves. Y is negative 3 halves x plus 7 halves. So the slope of this line is negative 3 halves. And that will also be the slope of the line that I want to use. So my line is parallel to this line. So my line will also have a slope of negative 3 halves going through the point negative 2, 4. So once I have a point and a slope, I can find the equation of the line. I like to use y equals mx plus b. Plug in 4 for y, negative 3 halves for m, negative 2 for x, and then solve for b. Negative 3 halves times negative 2, negative times negative is positive. 3 halves times 2, 6 over 2 or 3, 4 equals 3 plus b. We solve for b, subtracting 3 from both sides, of course. We get 4 minus 3 is b, or b is 1. So we have b is 1, we have m is negative 3 halves. That's enough for us to get the equation of the line. Y equals mx plus b. Plug in the negative 3 halves for m and the 1 for b, and we get our answer of y equals negative 3 halves x plus b. So let's take a look at those two lines. We had y is negative 3 halves x plus 1, which we just did. That was the red line through the point negative 2, 4. We can see that green dot here. And that is indeed parallel to the line 3x plus 2y equals 7, which is the line in blue. Let's take a look at one more like that. Construct the equation of a line that contains the point negative 1, negative 9, and is parallel to the line 2x minus 5y equals 1. So I need to find what is the slope of this line. So we're going to solve for y. I'm going to make that plus negative 5y just to keep track of the negative sign. Add negative 2x to both sides. So negative 5y is negative 2x plus 1. And then I have to divide by negative 5. Divide this by negative 5. Divide this by negative 5. Divide this by negative 5. And we will get negative 2x over negative 5 plus 1 over negative 5. In that case, the negative 2x over negative 5 reduces to 2/5, and that, of course, is minus 1/5. So the slope of this line, keeping in mind y equals mx plus b, the slope of this line is 2/5. And I want a line that is parallel to that line, so I will also need a slope of 2/5. So the slope will be 2/5, and the point will be negative 1, negative 9. I want to find the equation of the line with that slope through that point. I'm going to do that by solving y equals mx plus b for b, plugging negative 1 in for x and negative 9 in for y. So again, y equals mx plus b. Negative 9 equals 2/5 times negative 1 plus b. 2/5 times negative 1 is negative 2/5. Then I have to add 2/5 to both sides to solve for b. So negative 9 plus 2/5 is b. Negative 9 times 5 is negative 45 plus 2 over 1. Negative 45 plus 2 over 5 gives me negative 43 fifths will be B. So I know M and I know B. If I know M and I know B, I can plug them in to get the equation of the line. The line is y equals mx plus b, y equals 2 fifths of x plus negative 43 fifths. So we see our slope and our y-intercept. I want to make it look a little bit cleaner. Maybe we can write it as y equals 2x over 5 minus 43 fifths. So we have those two equations. The one that we just developed, y is 2x over 5 minus 43 fifths, which we see here, as well as when we started with 2x minus 5y equals 1. Our new line, our red line, was supposed to go through the point negative 1, negative 9. Do we see that? Through the point negative 1, negative 9, indeed. Our red line is parallel to the blue line, and it contains the point negative 1, negative 9. Now let's look at a different pair of lines that are not parallel. Here I have y is negative 2/3 x plus 5, which you'll see in red, and y is 3/2 x minus 4, which you'll see in blue. Red is decreasing, negative slope. Blue is increasing. So one is positive, one is negative on the slope side, and they are reciprocals. Negative 2/3, positive 3/2. Different signs and reciprocals. And notice that the lines are perpendicular. Here's another example. Y is negative 4x plus 3 is red, and y equals 1/4 x minus 2 is in blue. Slope of one is negative 4, slope of the other is positive 1/4. One is negative, one is positive, and the slopes are reciprocals, 4 over 1, 1 over 4. When that happens, the lines are perpendicular. So we say if the slopes of two lines are negative reciprocals, the lines are perpendicular. There is one other case we should look at where we can't quite say this, but the lines are perpendicular anyway. If I have y equals 5, a horizontal line, x equals 2, a vertical line, they are certainly perpendicular. We can't really say, though, that the slopes are negative reciprocals because x equals 2 doesn't have a slope. Y equals 5 has a slope of 0. That doesn't have a reciprocal. But other than that case of horizontal and vertical, as long as the slopes are negative reciprocals, the lines will be perpendicular. So here's our example. We want to construct the equation of a line that contains the point negative 1, 4, and is perpendicular to the line y equals 3x minus 2. Well, y equals 3x minus 2, we see the slope is 3. And if we want the lines to be perpendicular, we need to take the negative reciprocal. So we need to take a negative sign and flip this upside down. That's 3 over 1. If I flip 3 over 1, I get 1 over 3. So the perpendicular slope is negative 1/3. So I have the slope of the perpendicular line is negative 1/3, and I have the point is negative 1/4. I want to use those two things to solve for the y-intercept, to solve for b. So we're going to work to solve y equals mx plus b, plug in 4 for y, negative 1/3 for m, negative 1 for x, and solve for b. Now negative 1/3 times negative 1 is just positive 1/3. So now I have 4 equals 1/3 plus b, subtract 1/3 from both sides. 12 minus 1, 11/3 is what we'll get there. So I have the slope that for the perpendicular line is negative 1/3, and I have the y-intercept is 11/3. Let's put those together, and what do I get? Y equals mx plus b, plugging in the values, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 11/3. So let's take a look at those two lines. We had y equals 3x minus 2, and we have y equals negative 1/3 x plus 11/3. Let's see when we graph them if they appear to be perpendicular. 3x minus 2 is in red, intercept of negative 2, rise 3, run 1. Negative 1/3 x plus 11/3 is in blue, and you'll notice the green dot, negative 1/4, the blue line indeed goes through that green dot. Our next question, construct the equation of a line that contains the point 2, 1 and is perpendicular to the line 5x minus 3, 1 equals 2. So we're starting with this line. We need to solve for y to find its slope. So let's add negative 5x to both sides. We get negative 3y is negative 5x plus 2. Divide both sides by negative 3. So negative 3y over negative 3 is negative 5x plus 2 over negative 3. Left side is y. Right side, negative 5x over negative 3 plus 2 over negative 3, which reduces to negative over negative 5x over 3 minus 2/3. So the slope of this line, y equals mx plus b, is 5/3. We want a perpendicular line, so we're going to go ahead and do what? We're going to go ahead and take the negative reciprocal. So flip the 5/3 upside down to give me 3/5 and change the sign. So the reciprocal with the sign change is negative 3/5. That will be for our perpendicular line. Our perpendicular line has a slope of negative 3/5. So it's going through the point 2, 1, with that slope. We need to solve for the y-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. Replace y with 1, m with negative 3/5, x with 2. Negative 3/5 times 2 is negative 6/5, so 1 is negative 6/5 plus b. Let's add 6/5 to both sides. 1 plus 6/5. Well, 1 is 5/5. 5/5 plus 6/5 is 11/5. So I have m and I have b. So we're going to plug those into y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 3/5 x plus 11/5. And here are the two graphs, the one we just have. Y is negative 3/5 x plus 11/5 in red. And 5x minus 3y equals 2. It sure looks like they're perpendicular, and you'll notice the red line goes to our point of interest, which is 2, 1. And that will conclude this lesson.